Yá'át'ééh. Good morning, my relatives. This is Mark Charles. Today is Friday, June, I'm sorry, July 22nd, and I am here in Buffalo, or in what, sorry, I'm here in Detroit, Michigan, and I wanted to give a second cup of coffee. So before I begin, I want to do something, and I need to bring my list up here because I want to make sure I get all the things, but I want to acknowledge the people whose land I'm on. And so I have a list here. I just want to make sure that I say the names correctly and include the people that I need to include. So give me just a second. In Detroit, Michigan, I am on the land of the Fox, the Peoria, the Anishinaabe, the Potawatomi, the Maiamia, and the Mississauga. I want to honor these nations as the host people of these lands. I want to thank them for their stewardship of the lands. And I want to state how humbled I am these past few days to be traveling on these lands and to be soaking in the beauty of these lands and the lake and the places that are here. So, Yá'át'ééh, all of my relatives, thank you for your stewardship of these lands. For those of you who have been following, I am on my 2022 Unsettling Truths book tour, and I am going around the country. Right now, we've just gone through Buffalo, New York, and I'm finishing up this stint in Detroit, Michigan. Next, I'm traveling actually in just about an hour, half an hour. I'm leaving for Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'll be there tomorrow or tonight or this afternoon and tomorrow morning. And then I'll be in Chicago on the 24th and in Minneapolis on the 26th, and then Orange City, Denver, and Albuquerque. And I want to highlight for you just some of the events that are coming up. So this afternoon, actually at 3 p.m. at Calvin University in the Alumni Boardroom, which is Annex 206, I believe, I'm going to be giving my book presentation on campus at Calvin. And I've been inviting friends from Grand Rapids area. I've been posting this on my social media, but I wanted to make sure all of you were aware of this and that we'll be doing this event this afternoon today at 3 p.m. Tomorrow morning, I will be in Oakdale Park Church, which is also in Grand Rapids. We're going to have refreshments there at 9:30 in the morning and then start around 9:45. It will be another book talk on Unsettling Truths. And I'm very excited to be having these two presentations for all of my relatives in Grand Rapids. Then I am traveling on Sunday morning to Chicago. And I will be in Chicago in the afternoon at 5 p.m. at the Lawndale Christian Fitness Center, hosted by Lawndale Church, which is a CCDA organization. And we'll be in the Skyline Conference Room, which is at 3750 Ogden Avenue. It's on the 4th floor. And then I'm very excited to let you know that on the 26th, next week, Tuesday, I have a location where we'll be in Minneapolis, and we will be at Plymouth Congregational Church, which is at 1900 Nicollet Avenue. And that is right there in Minneapolis, and that will begin at 7 p.m. Central Time. I posted one of my graphics a few days earlier that had 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That was obviously incorrect, so I've updated the graphic. I want to make sure everyone's aware that we will be meeting at 7 p.m. Central Time in Minneapolis. But I'm very excited to be able to have a location I can share for all of the people who are in Minneapolis. And I'm very grateful for the people at Plymouth Congregational Church and for their invitation for me to speak at that church. So those are some of the upcoming events that we have. And I just want to give you kind of an update of how this book tour has been going. This morning, I'm drinking, for those of you, especially of the Canadian north of the border with Canada, I'm drinking some Tim Hortons coffee. So whenever you get close to the Canadian border, you will find more and more Tim Horton coffee shops. And actually the hotel we're staying at has one right across the parking lot. And so this morning I grabbed a cup of Tim Horton coffee. This is not an endorsement of Tim Hortons, but I try to give a shout out to all my Canadian relatives because they appreciate it when we you are purchased from things connected with Canada. So anyway, I'm drinking my Tim Hortons coffee this morning, and it's very good. So the events have been going well. They've been each about 45 minutes, maybe an hour at the longest. And I've been really framing this book tour not solely on content from the book, but I'm looking at how the book shifts your paradigm. And I've been highlighting primarily two paradigm shifts that people will get from reading the book. The first is the paradigm of you cannot discover lands already inhabited, and how our nation is slowly moving away from that paradigm, and we're not celebrating Columbus Day as much, and we're focusing more on Indigenous Peoples Day. But then I highlight how, while that is good, we still have these huge legal precedents based on the doctrine of discovery that tie land titles to the fact that natives aren't human. And if we really want to shift this paradigm, that's where we have to see the changes. And so I take almost 15 minutes probably to walk through that with people and to really help them understand how we need to shift this paradigm. The other paradigm I talk about shifting is from chapters 9 and 10. And I talk about how the idea or the understanding that the victors write the history. And because the United States of America has never lost a war that matters, we have a history that's largely mythological because we've written our own history for 250 years. And I walk through some of the dangers and the trappings of that. And I don't give away all the content of those chapters, but I really kind of tease it and let people know, yeah, this is what happens. And I give a few examples, and then I lead into the content of chapters 9 and 10, which is about deconstructing the mythology of Abraham Lincoln. I give those two examples and a few other short ones in the first half of the presentation. So in the last half of the presentation, I can really challenge people to say, if you allow your paradigm to be challenged by reading Unsettling Truths, these are the things you will begin to see. And what I talk about then at the end of the presentation is I talk about how right now we are having a massive national dialogue on white Christian nationalism. We have the hearings going on in DC, and we're talking a lot about white Christian nationalism. And we're blaming it primarily on white, right-leaning, Republican, evangelical Christians. And I do not deny for a moment that they need to carry or hold the burden of what they have been doing. But I also demonstrate how this Christian nationalism is actually a bipartisan value. And I point out rhetoric from both political leaders on the right as well as political leaders on the left who very much adhere to white Christian nationalism. And then the last part of the presentation, I kind of conclude with this, is I talk about treaties. Taking content from the presentation I gave in Prescott, talking about our nation's legacy of broken treaties, I talk about how the United States has this legacy of broken treaties, and I kind of shift the paradigm, and I demonstrate how we see treaties currently and what we need to really see treaties as. And so the end of the lecture, kind of the first part of the lecture, really draws on content from the book, and the end of the lecture presentation says, this is, if you have your paradigm challenged or even shifted by the book, these are the things you will begin to see as you look around what we're doing both nationally and globally. And I'm very glad to report that the response has been incredible. It's been a very good response. We've had probably an average of about 20 people at each of the events. We've done 4 events so far. We did 1 in Buffalo, 1 in Akron, and now 2 in Detroit. And we're getting a good mix of people who've read the book that Sing-Chan and I wrote and are familiar with my content, and people who've never heard of me before, but were invited or learned about it and wanted to come and check it out. And so I can see the audience expanding. I can see people getting more engaged with it. And it's really been fun to kind of expand the audience and to be in deep dialogue with people. We follow every presentation with a Q&A, and those Q&As have been very in depth, and I've really appreciated the Q&As that we've been having. So, and then we have the book sale and the book signing afterwards, and we've been probably averaging about 15 book sales per event, which is good. It's almost 75% of the audience that we have there. And so, yeah, I'm really happy. I'm very, very excited about what we're doing on this tour. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to go out and to do this. And I just wanted to update you on some of that. Now, I know there's some people, and myself included, who are watching the COVID numbers rise throughout the nation, right? As this new variant that is highly contagious continues to spread around the country. In fact, there was an article in the news yesterday, and I'll just share the link right here, that President Biden contracted COVID, and he has mild symptoms, but he does have COVID at the moment, and I'm going to share the link for that in the comment section here. And one thing I've appreciated about the Biden White House is the precautions that they take with COVID and the encouragement they give to the nation to really protect themselves, continually protect ourselves from COVID. And this article I shared from the AP is about how the White House is trying to use the fact that President Biden, even though he's taken precautions and he's done things to protect himself, still contracted COVID. And so they're using this as a teaching moment. And if you've been following me for a number of years, right, as soon as COVID hit, even when I was doing our presidential campaign, we were one of the first campaigns to shut down our physical campaigning because we did not want to endanger the health of our supporters or even the health of our campaign team. And so I've been taking COVID precautions very seriously throughout the entire time, getting vaccinated and everything else, and encouraging people to really consider doing the same things themselves. And on this tour, right, because right now most of the protocols for mandates, as far as mask wearing or things like that, have been relaxed, we're not changing the mandate from whatever area we're local to. Or whatever building that we happen to be hosted in. We're not doing anything different than what they're doing. But we are encouraging people to wear masks. And I am wearing a mask every place I go. When I go indoors, the only time I take it off in my public events is when I'm speaking. And occasionally I'll take it off for some pictures so that we can have a picture with people. And then I put the mask back on. The other thing my daughter and I are doing, because my daughter is traveling on this trip with me, is we are at every possible opportunity eating outside. As you can imagine, there's a lot of people who want to meet with us and talk with us, and we're having some great dialogues and conversations with people, but we're really working hard to all of these meals that we have, we're eating them outside so that we can reduce our exposure to COVID. So these are some of the things that we're doing. I just want to encourage everybody else, even as I've been contacting people about this tour, friends and family say, I would love to come, but someone in our family contracted COVID last week, or we came home from a trip and some people had COVID. And so it's still rising. And so I want to encourage everybody to be cautious and to protect not only your health, but the health of those most vulnerable in your community. So those are some of my encouragements for you. I'm going to share a few links with you here, and just so you have them. So the event this afternoon at Calvin, I just shared a link there, and it includes the details of it, as well as a link to a Facebook event that I created. And I'm not updating these Facebook events a lot, but I have them there so that people can invite friends and relatives. So I just shared the one for Calvin, and now I shared the one for at Oakdale Park Church. That's going to happen tomorrow. And then here are the details. I already showed you the graphic, but I'm going to give you the details for the event in Lawndale in Chicago, which is coming up on Sunday at 5 p.m. And then here are the details for the event in Minneapolis, which is on Tuesday the 26th. And so there are those events there. And then, right, the whole point of this tour is so that people will read and engage with Unsettling Truths. So if you can't meet us on a tour, you can still purchase a signed copy of the book, and there is the link for that. And we're also letting people know that there's no PR firm behind this book. Right, my publisher isn't funding this tour. We don't have a PR firm funding this tour. This is something I initiated myself, and so to help cover the expenses for the tour, one of the things that I did is I started a GoFundMe, And so we have a GoFundMe, and we've had some tremendous response. We've had a lot of people supporting this tour. And if you're interested in helping cover the expenses of this tour, I encourage you to look at our GoFundMe page. That's also the page I update very regularly with photos and just what we're doing along the tour, along the way, and how it's going. So yeah, I hope that your cup of coffee is as good as mine. I don't get to drink Tim Hortons coffee very often, but I'm appreciating the chance to drink it today. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great day. I will continue to post updates on my social media. I will continue to try and do second cups of coffee whenever I'm able to. And I am having a really good time just meeting people and engaging people, as well as spending time with my daughter who's on this trip with me. And we're having some good time. She's helping me a lot, especially when we drive. She updates my social media while we're driving. And so it allows us to even gain some productive time while we're spending hours and hours on the road. I think we've driven about 1,000 miles so far. I'm expecting to drive 7,000 miles this entire trip. So we're going to be on the road for almost 6 weeks. But yeah, it's going to be a long trip, but I'm very excited about it. So Phil Fox, Phil, who is a good friend of mine, he lives here in Detroit, and he has come to both of our events here. And Phil, thank you so much for your support of what I'm doing. Thank you so much for just your engagement and your friendship. It's been wonderful to see you these past couple of days. I also want to just thank everyone else who's on this live stream. I saw Shantina was on here earlier. Terry is on here. Who else do we have? I saw several other people. Teresa is on here, and Tracy. So I want to thank all of you for joining me today. Tam, Yá'át'ééh, thank you so much for joining me. Kimberly, Yá'át'ééh, Milikaya, thank you so much for joining today. This has been a great experience so far, and I'm looking forward to the days and the weeks ahead. So, Yá'át'ééh, my relatives, walk in beauty, and may we learn how to walk in beauty together. Yá'át'ééh and Hako'onet.